Hi, I'm Avery Davidson.
And I'm Kristen Oaks-White. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Well, $5,000 may not sound like a lot of money when you're talking about $800,000 combines and $40,000 loads of diesel, but it can be enough to start a business.
The USDA Farm Service Agency offers youth loans up to $5,000 to young people between the ages of 10 and 20. And one 11-year-old in Lafayette used that loan to help feed her friends and family.
Inside this modest home in the middle of Lafayette, there's something growing right behind those blinds. Green leafy vegetables sprout from white hydroponic towers. The person growing them is 11-year-old Trinity Wagaspack.
After a while, once they look good enough to be in the top tower,
Wagaspack is showing her vertical garden to Farm Service Agency Farm Loan Officer Logan Richard. That's because, as the sign reads, this project was funded by youth loans available through the FSA. Wagaspack learned about them when her dad was traveling.
then Dad called saying, "Hey, I got this pamphlet saying USDA. It says you can make a lot of money off of gardening and stuff that you can do." And he said, "You want to try? We already have experience gardening." And I said, "Sure, why not?"
Every 2 weeks, Wagaspack has 30 heads of lettuce to sell, and the money she raises has to be enough to pay back the youth loans.
I had a mentor from LSU making sure that I would get profit. I had to go back like a few times to make sure everything was good, because before I had it and I went in, it was just all like jumbled and wasn't really accurate. So having a mentor would really helped me making sure I was okay.
She was very mature through the whole process, and she asked some really good questions, and we made it through.
Wagaspack is on pace to pay off one of the loans very soon. Richard and others at FSA are hoping Wagaspack's peers see that she is successful in starting an ag-based business and want to do the same.
It's exciting, and I hope she influences other young children around her to be a part of something like this too. I think it's so good for our youth, and I hope she just continues what she's doing and passes it along to others.
Trinity really was wonderful to meet. While she's only selling her lettuce to a few people now, she's planning to do the necessary paperwork to be able to sell to local restaurants. How's that for a business plan? If you would like to learn more about FSA youth loans, visit our website at twilatv.org. Well, if you know nothing about goat milk soap, you can find out from Know Nothing Ranch.
This week, TWILA's Neil Melancon takes us to Holden, Louisiana, where one farmer's pets created a new career and a new business.
It's feeding time here at Know Nothing Ranch, and farmer Andrea Anderson is letting her goats out to pasture. They started out as pets because Andrea loved these so-called earless goats.
Our goats are La Mancha goats, and they actually do have ears. They have tiny ears called gopher ears or elf ears. And they are actually the only dairy goat breed that was created in the United States.
Learning about these goats is what started Know Nothing Ranch. After growing up with skin conditions, Andrea was also keen to learn about goat milk, as well as both a new product and new career.
I had a lot of skin issues growing up, eczema, and then it turned into rosacea. Originally it was just me figuring out what worked for me. I was able to stop taking medication, and the more I researched formulas and made my formula where it is today, took a little while.
Andrea decided to expand her business and sell soap. Just last September, she started selling at her local farmers market.
Now we are at the Hammond Farmers and Artisan Market every Saturday from 8 to 12, and we have lots of farm friends that come and visit and talk about the goats and buy our soap.
It's been enough that she was able to put her primary career focus from being a designer to a farmer. You can see the blending of the two, though, in her workshop where she makes the soap. Unlike many commercial soaps, it doesn't contain detergent.
When you add goat milk into those soaps, goat milk has lots of vitamins and minerals, and you're putting all those vitamins and minerals into that soap as well with just a really clean, simple ingredient product.
It's a lot of work and a big change from the home office, but besides the end results of a huge variety of soaps, Andrea says there is a sense of fulfillment in the day-to-day work.
To see people come back and say this worked for me is it just means the world to me. And that's why I do this and why I continue to get up early every morning and milk goats and make soap and kind of switch my career over time to being behind a computer to now working on a farm for hours during the day in the heat. And but I love it.
And that love has clean edges everyone can appreciate. Reporting from Holden, I'm Neil Melancon.
You can find Know Nothing Ranch and the goat milk soap products online. We'll link you over on our website at twilatv.org. I hate to say it, Kristen, but we've gotten to the part of the year where I have to say the dreaded T word, tropics.
Well, 'tis the season. Let's check in with Nick McKillis for this week's Farmer's Forecast. Nick?
Thank you all very much. Yeah, we're watching the tropics, but fortunately at this point it does not look like anything imminently developing, at least nothing really strong. Now, one of the things we look at, one of the first things here is, do we have a lot of moisture in place? Are there a lot of thunderstorms? And we have seen that over the Gulf of Mexico. You can see how deep that moisture is right now over most of the Gulf, apart from the northeastern corner, and also very warm sea surface temperatures. So this is just some real basic stuff we look at, but mid-80s, you only need it to be in the upper 70s to near 80 to sustain this development. So it's warm. We've seen relatively low wind shear and we have loads of moisture out there. As of now, though, we are not seeing any real imminent threats to Louisiana. Now, it's going to be warm as we head into July. Not a big surprise right there. Looks like we'll be slightly above seasonal norms there. Probably going to be in the mid-90s for a good chunk of the state here. And it looks like we will see at least some scattered storms, because even if you don't get development from these systems, that means we have tropical moisture down there, what I showed you, and a lot of that's easily accessible here in Louisiana. So we're going to get those scattered kind of pop-up showers and thunderstorms across the state, and it looks like that trend is just going to continue on for a little while here. And looking into the next 3 months, it looks like no drought for us this year. Above normal precipitation is in the forecast for the next 3 months. Now, there are going to be breaks. We're going to have runs where we miss the rain for a while, and then we're going to see more rainfall, and then we're going to be watching the tropics for that next 3 months. In fact, until the season is over, because judging by the current conditions and how things are kind of starting off this year, it does look like that busy season is going to be on tap. Remember, we're just getting started. The real peak of hurricane season doesn't get here until late August through September and early October, and I will be here to watch that and give you the latest information. Back to you.
Thanks, Nick, and thanks for keeping an eye on that. This week, we're wrapping up our series profiling the 3 finalists vying for the Louisiana Farm Bureau's Young Farmers and Ranchers Achievement Award. The winner will be announced at the 102nd Annual Louisiana Farm Bureau Convention in New Orleans.
Aaron and Jamie Lee raise cattle, crawfish, rice, and sugarcane on their 6th-generation farm in Vermilion Parish, where Mother Nature can be a very fickle farming partner. The thunder rolls and the lightning strikes as another storm swells across the skyline in Vermilion Parish. That seems to be the ironic story of the season for farmers Aaron and Jamie Lee. Too much rain after last year's record-breaking drought.
It humbles you to know that there's only so much that you can control. You can do everything right, and if the weather says that it's just not the time, then it's just not the time. And I feel like the drought this past summer is a perfect example of that. You really just have to have faith that everything's going to work out, and we wake up and we do our best every day, and we know that that's all we can do.
For the Lee family, faith is vital to growing this cattle, rice, crawfish, and sugarcane operation.
It's been a passion of mine since I was a little kid, riding around with my dad and my grandfather, you know, on the same farm that we're farming now, and it's always been, you know, a real part of my life, and I guess my passion for it just outplays the bad that can come with it.
As a 6th-generation farmer, Aaron is no stranger to weathering the storms that come with farming this land in South Louisiana.
Anytime a hurricane would come and push a storm surge on us, it would flood the pastures and pull our fences down. And every time a storm comes, our cattle were getting further and further away from the place, and it was getting harder to keep them all together and keep it productive. And we've been noticing over the years that the fields that flood that have sugarcane on them seem to be still productive. It seems to be a pretty resilient crop, you know, that can survive a disaster a little bit better than cattle anyway.
That's exactly why the Lees decided to try their hand at planting sugarcane 2 years ago.
there is some stress with starting something new, but we're learning fast.
It's a little scary, you know, you're definitely taking a leap of faith, but we really think it's going to be successful. We've done our homework on it, and everyone in the sugarcane industry has been so helpful and so welcoming. They're really there to help us, and they want to see us succeed in it. So I think it's going to go well, and I think it's exciting to have more to pass on to the next generation.
With that in mind, Aaron and Jamie are not only working to grow this farm, but also preserve the land to pass on to the 7th generation, Aaron Jr.
We have plans for our son and Aaron's nephews to help carry on the family farm, and that wouldn't be possible if we weren't being sustainable. So while the word itself might be something new and trendy, you know, what we're doing hasn't changed. The technology might look a little different, but it's all for the same goal of keeping our land healthy, using as few resources as possible. You know, we all want to have that same end goal, and that's what I wish a lot of people would really understand, is what the general public thinks they want from sustainability is what we have always strived for. You know, it's nothing new for us.
And she's working to spread that message off the farm as an ag teacher at Kaplan High School.
I really stress the importance of them understanding that American agriculture is a safe and sustainable food supply. We all want to grow safe, healthy food for our families. We're buying the produce and the rice and the sugarcane that we grow. You know, that's what we're feeding our family. So we wouldn't feed you something that we wouldn't feed our own family.
From the classroom to the field, family is the key to surviving storms here on the farm, where Aaron Jr. is already preparing to take over the wheel from Dad.
It's definitely an eye-opening experience. Now that I'm a dad of my own and have my own child, you know, son to raise in this, it really makes it more of a passion for me, really, to keep this going and for him to have something to look forward to as he grows older. I mean, ever since he was old enough to ride on the side-by-side, I've been planning my, you know, here on the place here, checking the water on the rice. I've been planning it, you know, around when he can come, him and Jamie can come ride with me, because he enjoys riding on the bike and seeing me open the pipes, and it's just been really fun.
Knowing that Aaron gets to take AJ to the field with him, you know, AJ is going to be the 7th generation of Lees that gets to go to the field to work with his dad. And to me, that's just so special. That's such a beautiful family to have here.
The winner of the 2024 Young Farmers and Ranchers Achievement Award will receive a $35,000 cash prize and an all-expenses-paid trip to the American Farm Bureau Convention in San Antonio, Texas, to compete for the National Wife in Our Achievement Award in January of 2025. Congratulations to each of the finalists. I am certainly glad that I don't have to make the final decision this year. Well, still to come on TWILA, getting spicy with Louisiana beef for a recipe you'll want to make at home. Feasting on Agriculture is next. Stay with us.
You're watching This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
I'm Avery Davidson. In this edition of Feasting on Agriculture, we find out why Louisiana beef is the spice of life.
Feasting on Agriculture is brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, beef, it's what's for dinner, and by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, think rice.
I love cooking and I love food, and so I'm very curious about how our products work and also making sure I'm on the next food trend.
How did Red Stick Spice Company get started?
So it was 12 years ago, and the shop existed in Baton Rouge, and I had just finished culinary school, and I was looking for a job. I was doing a little bit of catering, and it wasn't really working well for my family, and I was looking for a job. I needed some spices, so I ran by the shop. I remember what I was getting ground bay, and they said, "Do you want to buy our shop? We're ready to retire." And I said, yeah. I bought the shop and we immediately rebranded. I wanted to make sure it was a place where home cooks felt comfortable. It was positioned originally a little bit for like exclusivity and only for foodies. And that was a big term at the time. We've kind of gotten away from that in the last 12 years. And I knew immediately I needed the home cook to feel comfortable in the shop and to get back to home cooking, because at the time, so many folks just weren't cooking at home. So that's how I came to own the shop. The culinary background has been most useful to me in teaching our cooking classes. When I built in the kitchen, I wanted to use home equipment. It looks just like a home kitchen, and I wanted to make sure all the recipes, while they are interesting and complex, they are also very, very doable at home. So that culinary background has served me really, really well in designing a program here in this teaching kitchen that does its job every time.
The dish you're going to make for us today is something that's really accessible. Tell me a little bit about this steak dish.
So this dish is garlic butter steak bites. Yeah, I went over to Iverstein's and the ribeyes were looking fantastic, so I grabbed ribeye, but it's perfect for a sirloin, and New York strip does really, really well. Having a relationship with someone like Galen, who knows the cattle industry, how much has that helped you to have a relationship with someone like him? So it's invaluable. Folks come in and they are not only looking for ways to make their food taste better with spices, they also have questions about, what is this cut? You know, what steak should I be buying? How can I not spend so much? You know, I have a family of 6, and, you know, to be able to connect them, or I just don't have time to go grocery shopping, to connect them with Allison Guidros and get on their CSA program, and connect them with Galen to be able to go over there and talk to a knowledgeable butcher about the cuts and the why of why they cut things the way they do. That's huge for a local business to be able to provide that kind of insight to a customer. So they not just walk out with a packet of taco seasoning, that they walk out with other resources for how to, that's really how you shop locally, is you make it multifaceted. So yeah, it's been invaluable getting to know Galen and you know, farmers like Allison that have helped us just be better at what we do. Now that we've learned about Ann's passion for food and connection to agriculture, we're going to head into the kitchen and cook up those garlic butter steak bites right after this. Thanks for staying with us here on This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, as now it's the feasting part of Feasting on Agriculture. And Ann, we're going to be making these wonderful garlic butter steak bites. Yeah, super simple, but the most important part of this dish happened before you arrived. Oh, wow, okay. So early seasoning, early salting, dry brining, sort of all mean the same thing. Different people use different terms. Is really important when it comes to most every protein. We don't do this with seafood, but definitely with beef, chicken, and pork. We season as early in the day, or maybe even the day before, as we possibly can. We're gonna manage our heat. There goes our butter. We wanna melt it. I'm gonna it brought my heat down just a little bit. I'm gonna bring my heat up a little bit because I wanna hear a nice sizzle when these steak bites go in. I do this when I have a crowd. Rather than trying to figure out what everybody's internal temperature is, I do these steak bites. They serve up in a skillet. They're buttery, they're garlicky. I serve them with either mashed potatoes or pasta. It's great with polenta, or you can just serve it with bread for sopping up that garlicky, buttery goodness. I'm gonna leave those alone at least for 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. How tough is it for some people to just walk away and say, I'm not going to touch this for 3 minutes? We see it all the time. The protein goes down and they're immediately like looking for their utensil. They want to turn it, they want to poke it, we want to prod it, and we say, just leave it alone. Resisting that urge to move it is what helps that Maillard reaction happen, that golden brown color that we want on food. It can't happen if there's too much movement. Let's get the garlic in. So butter and garlic, this is my joke. What could go wrong? Yeah.
Nothing can go wrong with butter and garlic. You can smell when that garlic hits the butter.
It is priceless, that smell. That smell is priceless. Today I'm using ribeye. I've used sirloin, I've used New York strip. And you're forgiven if you go toward the medium well mark because there's so much flavor in that garlic butter and they're smaller bites. So it's less about this timing production of getting everybody's steak right and more about this crowd-pleasing big skillet of bites that are just absolutely delicious. I can feel that we're beyond medium on most of these pieces, just by feel. With an instant read thermometer, a probe thermometer, you want to be 145 to 150.
Gotcha.
And then you're good to go. And then I just shut the heat off. A lot of times we'll have bread. We're about to do some mashed potatoes, and I just serve right from the skillet.
Right from the skillet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect for serving. So,
Yeah.
I mean, why not? All right.
So we're gonna do a rustic smashed potato, and I'm gonna use our garlic jalapeno olive oil. I've got stock and cream here, and I'm gonna play around with the two of them to get the consistency that I want, but I just am looking for a really rustic smashed potato. Oh, and in with the potatoes, I added garlic.
Okay.
So there's whole cloves of garlic in there that I'm gonna smash along, and they've cooked in that water, and I'm gonna smash along with it.
We've got lots of flavor
Yeah.
here. Lots of flavor.
Yeah,
I love
no fears of the garlic today.
it. And this plates up so beautifully. I can smell the garlic.
It smells so good.
Okay, I can't help myself. I've got to dig in. So
Yeah.
you suggested taking a little cut because it's a little bit of a big bite, right? And then putting little mashed potatoes on there.
A little bit of
as
all
well.
of it, some of that butter
Okay.
in the bottom.
All right, so we're gonna get all of that together. For one, this is so tender. Like, I was surprised by how tender it was considering how much of a crust it got on the outside of it.
Right.
I get the tarragon, I get the garlic, and I get the butter.
Isn't it
And
wonderful?
this is amazing. And then the mashed potatoes just add that little creaminess to it. Wow, where'd you
Really,
think of
really
this?
good.
How did you come up with this?
So simple. I think we were done start to finish under 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, you have your early salting time, you've got to make some mashed potatoes, but definitely really, really quick, and that skillet serves a crowd.
Well, and you made Louisiana beef sing today. I mean, this is absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
on
you.
Feasting on Agriculture. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Red Stick Spice Company or Galen Iverstein and his beef, you can visit our website at twilatv.org. I'm going to keep shoving this in my mouth, and we'll see you next time.
Feasting on Agriculture was brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, beef, it's what's for dinner, and by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, think rice.
Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. We'll be away for the next 2 weeks for the annual Louisiana Farm Bureau Convention and then the 4th of July holiday, so we'll be back the weekend of July 12th.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also find all of these stories on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you know exactly when we put out new content.
For all of us here at TWILA, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.